Hey grade 12s, how's it going? It's Mr. Brzinga here. I just want to show you if you're interested in doing some more coding for our class. Make sure you hand in your project too though, by the way, because we did that all before the March break for the most part, so get that into me so I can mark it. That way we'll have 2 projects to mark for your grade right now. I want to just show you how to get a brick breaker started with Box2D. And we're going to borrow a lot of the stuff from the physics.h file that's included when you make a new Box2D project. So I'll put a link to where you can download code blocks, again, if you don't already have it. And start with the Box2D project, hit go. Give it a name. I'm going to call this one Brick Breaker. I'll just call it Brick. Actually, I'm going to call it Brick Breaker. Hit next, hit finish. You get the drill there. Okay, here's my program. I have one file that's included, my physics.h file. We want to try to avoid, for the most part, using a lot of these functions because a lot of these functions you pass a block into it. And that's all well and good, but we actually want to make our own object or our own data structure in C++. So I think it's a good way to show you how to do that is with Brick Breaker, because we can make our own brick structure or class. Structure and class are basically the same thing in C++. We can make our own ball class. We can make our own paddle class, and then we can have them all kind of talk to each other. And most of the code for them will be in separate files. So let's do that. Here is the basic project that gets open when you start a Box2D. We don't need any of that stuff, so we are going to delete the floor. We obviously need a world, but we don't need it to have gravity and a brick breaker for now, but you could add that later if you wanted to. You could make your window bigger too. I'm just going to keep mine 800 by 600. We don't need this little mouse command that allows us to draw random blocks everywhere along the screen either. Okay, so where do we get in? We want to make a data structure in C++, and the wording to do that is struct. And then you give it a name. So for instance, if I want to have my own variable type or my own class type called ball, then I just write struct ball, and notice how it puts a little semicolon there. Okay, so that's the code we're going to use. You could also use the word class. There's a very small difference between classes and structures in C++. Won't get into it right now. Not important. I like the word structure just because I think about it as a data structure. I'm not a huge fan of using classes all the time in C++, if you haven't noticed, just because I think sometimes it can really jumble up your code and make it more confusing than it needs to be. And that's why I don't use Java coding language as much either. So, but it's good to know how to use it, so let's make a brick breaker game that will use it. I'm going to put all my the code for my ball class in a separate file, so I'm just going to hit new. I'll just call it an empty file. It asks me if I want to add it to the project. Of course I do. I'm going to call it ball. Call it capital ball dot cpp. There's lots of different ways to make classes in separate files. Code blocks will even has a little wizard that'll make them for you, and it adds a .h file and a .cpp file. I'm going to avoid that for now. I'm just going to make a CPP file, show you how I'm going to include it in my main project. So let's write the code for that ball. We'll write the word struct. We'll write the word ball, because that's what we're going to call it. We're going to save that. And if we want to include it in our main, then we'll just include it here. Include, and then I do it in quotes, ball.cpp. I think that should work. Let's check. Yep, it runs, no problem. So, okay. What it's actually doing is the equivalent of this. Every time the main sees include ball.cpp, it just grabs whatever code it finds and actually literally just pastes it in front of here. So every time it sees this line of code, it just pastes whatever code it sees in this file. Oopsie. So if I were to copy this code, I don't know what I did. I hit some dumb button here. Let me just go back to view and get my default code blocks. Great. Okay, so I'll hit copy and I don't know what happened. What did I do, guys? Would I include my ball there? That's what it would have done. Okay. Do I need vector and string? No. Let's see what I've done here. What did I mess up? Oh, okay, perfect. I guess I'll keep vector and string in there for now. And okay, so I'll keep my little include in here. Ball.h. Great. Or ball.cpp. Don't worry about why physics is .h and ball is .cpp. Actually doesn't make a difference at all on what we're doing right now. H stands for header, CPP stands for C++ file, but we're not going to do headers right now. Okay, so I want to make a ball structure, and I want to do two things with it. The first thing I want to do is I want it to have, well, I have two options. I can either say I want this ball to take on all the properties of an SFML circle shape, because I don't want to have to like figure out how to draw my own circles. And then in the background of my ball structure, I can kind of add Box2D stuff to it. So that's one option. The other option is to have the ball take on all the properties of a physics object and then add to it the SFML code you need to draw it. Because the physics engine, the Box2D, is only just dealing with the numbers of where everything is in the world. It doesn't know how to draw anything. So our job is to take all the numbers that the physics world calculates, the Box2D library calculates, and then find out where everything is after every frame and then draw it. So here's how you get a structure of your own to take on all the properties of some other structure or class. The first thing I have to do is I'm going to choose the option where my ball class takes on all the properties of an SFML circle shape, and then I'm going to add physics in the background. So I need to, this file doesn't know anything about it doesn't even have an include IO stream or anything, right? So I actually need to include the SFML library in there. Okay, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to hit copy, and I'm going to include SFML. I could actually just include physics in here, and it'll include everything. So maybe let's try that. Include physics dot h. Run that and see if it complains at all. Doesn't seem to complain there, so great. Here is how I am going to give the ball all the same properties as an SFML circle shape. I'm going to write colon after the name ball, and then I'm going to write the word public, and then SF colon rectangle shape. Is it there? Yes. Or circle shape, rather. Cool. Okay. And you have to use the word public, don't ask me why, and SF colon colon, because I didn't write using namespace SF. Normally I do, but let's run that just to be sure it works. It does, no errors, great. Watch what happens now. I can make my own ball variable / structure here, and I can give it any name I want. You know, Fred. I'm going to call it like main ball or something like that. Hit semicolon, and now when I hit main ball and hit dot, you can see that anything that a circle shape, any function or any variable that belongs to circle shape now belongs to my ball as well. So that's cool. pretty pointless for now, but what I'm going to do is, with my data structure, I'm going to add a bunch of variables that I think I might need. For a ball, maybe I need a speed, so I'm going to write float speed. Maybe I'm going to need the angle that it's moving at. I'll write float angle. What else am I going to need? I'm going to need a ton of Box2D stuff. Here's another important thing about making your own classes. You need something called a constructor. It's basically the function that gets called the moment you make your ball object. So when I type, let's take an example like circle shape. When I type circle shape and I write C in brackets, I can give it some values. For instance, it looks like by default it makes a radius of 0 and some sort of point count here of 30. That has to do with how many sides it takes to make up the circle as a polygon. If I write the word 200, and then I don't have to write any number here, by default it's 30, then it's going to make a circle with a radius of 200. This is called the constructor, this little piece of information that we add. Even though we borrowed all of the circle shape code, we don't get its constructor when we make our own object that is using circle shape. Okay, so how you make the constructor is you write the name of your structure. Sorry, you write the word of the name of your structure, and then you give it brackets like that, just like you would make a function. Now, I'm going to allow the person to type in the speed and the angle of, I'll just call them S and A for now because those are just variables they're going to type in when they create their own structure. And I have my two variables inside of my structure that I want to let equal those things that they type. So that's the way we get our angle and speed of our ball when we first make it. So now when I go to make a ball, if I just write ball and then I write main ball, it will crash on me, I think. Yes. Since there's no matching function call to ball, so it's expecting two numbers now, and if I type brackets, it's expecting like a speed and an angle. So if I say like I want it to move 100 pixels per second, and I need it to move at 45 degrees, and then it will work. And now the structure will have that stored in its memory. Good. Okay, so that is how you make a class. What I want you to do, what your goal is for the next day, is to get some walls around the outside of your window, because we're going to bounce this ball around. Obviously, get them set up using Box2D. They don't have to be drawn on the screen. We're actually going to avoid using this physics : display world function, because that will crash our objects that we're making, our structures. Okay. We're going to take care of drawing them inside of the structure itself. We're going to take care of updating their position inside the structure itself. We're going to take care of adding power-ups inside of these structures. So our main will be a very bare bones set of code that kind of controls the game, and the objects themselves will be in charge of all their own duties, shall we say. Okay, so get some walls going, get a ball going. I'll post another video hopefully tomorrow on how to add physics code to our newly founded structures. Thanks guys, talk to you soon.